Welcome. Welcome. It's January 23rd of January, I believe. And I'm Harvinder. I've been making Bitcoin update videos since 2022. And I've been in Bitcoin since 2015. And wow, what a ride it's been. It's always exciting. And so if you've never come across my stuff before, I make video updates every day, short form, long form. And I just talk about what I think is going to happen in the markets, how the markets have reacted to the charts and what the structure's showing and what's possibly going to happen next. And I decided to start going live every week. So I've been going live for a few weeks now. And I just share my screen, talk about what I think is going to happen. And I've made some pretty good calls over the years. Back in 2022, I actually called 2025 top to the exact day. It didn't go as high as I thought. I was predicting about 170, but October 6th, for some reason, I picked that date, and that was the exact date of the 2025 top. So, I'm quite proud of myself for that one. I should probably make some more noise about that. And I've also created a strategy which beats holding roughly by about 10x. And this is something I used to share everywhere, but then it got banned. So now I just keep it for my private clients. And so, without further ado, let me share my screen and let's get into this. Let's start looking at the charts and seeing what's happening at the moment. And so this is Bitcoin. Honestly, some would say it's looking really bad. It is and it isn't. Like structurally, let me just quickly preface this. When it comes to trading analysis, it is kind of like astrology for dudes, because we're not right all the time, but it does work. And so you're going to get some calls correct, you're going to get some calls which are wrong, and that's just the way it flows. And what I've been really concerned about the last few months is, let me just tidy this up a little bit. But let me bring up a cleaner chart so we can actually see what I'm talking about. All right, let's look at this one. I'm just going to this is a pattern that could play out. I don't think it will, but it's definitely in play. So let's delete everything here. Now, my main trading style is support and resistance. And so what you're looking at is you're looking at the lows, you're connecting them, and when that breaks, we're normally in a downtrend, and that's what's happened over here. Let me just get that a bit nicer. And so a few months ago, back in November when we broke this trend line, I was like, this isn't looking good, guys. This is really bad. Let me just get a better point, actually. I like to try and be as accurate as I can with my trend lines. It just helps. And so, what happened here, we broke through, and I got this pretty accurate. I said, look, it's broken through, it's going to bounce off and come back down again. And it did. But now we are in very dangerous territory, where if it breaks below 80k, then we probably are in a bear market. And so right now, from a simplistic point of view, we need to break out of this resistance level. Before, the resistance level was here, and we did break that, and that's why I was starting to get bullish, and I know some other people were too, but it ended up breaking down. And it doesn't mean it's over, because sometimes a trend line is retested a couple of times. And if we look at this, let's just make this as accurate as possible, because I don't like to, I'll say that's good. So we did break through, we retested, and I just thought, okay, we're probably off to the races, at least to 100k before coming back down again. But we got to about 97.5, so it wasn't too far off. And now we're at this dangerous point now where, is this some kind of channel which is going to break down to the downside? And there's different ways of drawing this. And it depends on what chart you're looking at. But I'm looking at some kind of support line like this. And the reality is, if this breaks, then it's not game over. It just means that we're going to stay in the downtrend for a little bit longer. And a lot of people have just been spoiled with Bitcoin. And so, we're looking at this kind of area here. And so as long as it stays in this kind of range, then it's still okay. We're still looking good for some kind of pump. But sometimes you do need to zoom out and look at other charts to corroborate with what you're saying, with what you're thinking rather, because you don't want to just delude yourself and look at one chart. And I've got indicators, and there was a buy signal then a sell signal because it was just too close together. So right now, the safest thing to do, I'd say, is be out of the market. But safe depends on your strategy. If you're just buying Bitcoin and you're happy to just hold, then yeah, this will come out and then eventually you'll be in profit. But if you're looking just for more short-term gains, then that's harder. Now, this is a chart that I always go on about in my main videos. This is the stablecoin dominance chart. And it's a bit... Right, it's not the best looking. So what happened was if I go back out, I've overlaid the Bitcoin chart in blue on this. And there's a direct correlation here. As the Bitcoin price goes up, this chart goes up. As this chart goes down. As this chart goes up, the Bitcoin price goes down. And that's what we're seeing. This has started to go up, Bitcoin price has gone down. And this was in a mini downtrend. And so let me hide the Bitcoin chart. I've been using this chart for years to track Bitcoin. And, back in 2022, one of my subscribers actually told me about this. Like, we were in a downtrend, and Bitcoin really wasn't going to start pumping properly until it broke out. And there were different levels here. Just like there's, different levels everywhere. We had that kind of trend line there. So, and if you look at that, mid-July, that's when Bitcoin started to, do better. And, we've been in this range over here. And so more recently, we've had this support trend line here where this has been going up and hence the Bitcoin price has been going down. And then we broke this trend line and we started to come down. And my hope was that we were going to just continue to do something like that. That didn't happen. We broke through. And so what I'm hoping for now is I hope this doesn't get broken, or at the very least, it doesn't break this level here. And so I do want to see this to continue in some kind of downtrend. And if that does, then there's more hope for Bitcoin, because really what this chart basically means is if this chart goes up, this is stablecoin dominance. This means that people are selling their Bitcoin in exchange, converting it into stablecoins basically. So they're jumping out of the market. And that's not what we want. We want people to stay in the market. Now, I want to go back to... There are other charts that I want to show you, but before we do that, I want to go over this chart here. Now, this is what I drew. I made a Bitcoin end of year review video last year, and I went through everything here. So I won't go into this in too much detail, but this basically tracks Bitcoin from the halvings. So generally speaking, well, what's happened over the last few cycles, let me just have some water. After the halving, we normally just have to wait a little bit and then we enter the bull market. And that's happened consistently after every halving. And then after the bull run, we get the bear phase. And again, let's zoom out to the weekly so we can see more. We get the bear market, which is this red bit here. In that cycle. And then we have the accumulation phase and the transition phase. This is in between the bear market and the bull market. So this has played out kind of like clockwork the last few times. But the difference here is, like, if you look at these gains, in the first bull market we had a 10,000% gain. Then the next one we had a 3,000% gain. And then in the last one in 2021, we had a 700% gain. And this is where a lot of people are feeling a bit spoiled, because since the halving, we've only had 100% gain to the top. And so, yeah, this is where people are a bit upset. It feels like we haven't had the blow off top. And so we find ourselves in a situation where we don't know if we're still in the bull run or if we have officially entered the bear market. And this is one of those questions that you don't know until after the fact. And so that's why if you look at my drawing here, I've got two boxes. I've got the I've got the green bull market one, and I've also got the red bear market one. And this doesn't necessarily need to go that low. I'm just going to make it like that. And so we don't know which one's true. Like, I don't know whether to delete that one or if I keep that in and I delete the green one. We don't know. And so I'm tracking this every day, like I'm sure most people are. And I've come to the conclusion that right now we're in this black box. And this black box, it really is just noise. And Bitcoin kind of needs to make its mind up. Which way is this going to go? Is it going to break out this? So anything it does in between here, it's not that it's not our concern. It just doesn't tell us enough. And so if it breaks down from here, like if the price starts coming out of this black box to the bottom, then I would probably say that would confirm that we are in the bear market. But by some miracle, if it breaks out the other way, which it almost did, then that for me would confirm that we're still in the bull market phase of this cycle. Now, these are just theories. No one knows. And like I said, we're not going to know until after the fact. And no one knows what's going to happen. This is just educated guessing at best. And yeah, we're at that stage where we just don't know. And I said before, this is where we look for evidence to prove if we're right or wrong. And then you got to look at other markets like gold, for example. Now, in one of my more recent videos, I looked at the correlation between gold and crypto. And there was a loose correlation because, gold's been around for thousands and thousands of years and Bitcoin's only been around for, 10, 15 years. So recently we've had gold enter get into a run. For example, here 2018 gold started moving, and then 2020 it topped out, and then that's when Bitcoin really started taking off. And so we could argue that that's going to happen again, because gold has been going crazy. It's tripled, almost quadrupled in price. And so a lot of people will say, look, we need gold to top out, and then that's when Bitcoin's really going to start to shine again. So that's one way of looking at it. Silver as well. I mean, between these two assets, it is people are talking about who's going to get to $100. Will silver get to $100 first, or let me just hide this. Yeah, will silver get to $100 first? Or will gold get to $5,000 first? And it's looking very likely that silver is going to get to $100 first. Let's see. But I did mark on one of my charts that that's the range, that's the level that I see silver topping out. So even my dogs agree. You can hear them in the background. So, the support and resistance stuff does work. And so I mapped out this kind of area as a potential top. And I did have another chart where I drew this a little bit better. Let me see if it's here. Because I actually did write $99. I don't know which one it was now. It doesn't matter. We are at a point where this is logical support. This goes back a long time. So this support line goes back to 83, resistance line, sorry. And so it connected there in 2011, or right now, 2026. So this is a logical place for it to top out, but no one knows. It's had a hell of a move, quadrupled, tripled, and so this is a sign that there's a lot more to come. And yeah, this is platinum. My target for platinum, I think I've got it in this chart. It's about 3,300. So this should continue to go up. And the thing is, there's no obvious warning signs that the markets are crashing. Yeah, we're having a bit of a pullback. That's just normal. But this is just the way the markets work. We always have pullbacks. And so, I'm not that concerned I really don't think we're entering some kind of recession. Not yet, anyway. I mean, my theory is we're still going to have a blow off top, and then things will start to crash. But if you have anything that you want me to look at, any coins, you can just let me know in the chat. And if it's on TradingView, I can go over them. So we're looking for evidence. And for me, the stock market, I did say, look, this is some kind of rising compression and it probably will fall down from here. So that has happened. But let's delete these and just redraw these. I'm just going to delete some of these older lines. We don't really need them. Let's go on to, even all these support levels here. I drew these when we broke through this level and they held pretty well. Let's go into the weekly. There's a lot more data here. And let's go into the monthly. All right. So this is broken this resistance trend line here. So we are in price discovery. When you're in price discovery, no one knows where it's going to go, how high it's going to go. But if you understand basic economics, demand and supply, and also mathematics, then it's pretty simple. The demand keeps on going up, and that's through currency printing, and the supply is somewhat fixed, and that's why the price keeps going up. It's not that the companies are getting more valuable, it's the currency that they're being measured in, it keeps them becoming less valuable because they just keep printing more, they keep diluting it. And so we want to basically hope that it doesn't really break these kind of levels. And there's a few different levels here that you could potentially draw. And if we are going to have any kind of crash, it will be very short-lived, just like over here. I remember having a client meeting when this happened, and I was just trying to reassure them to say, look, this is pretty normal. And I said, look, a V reversal is very, very likely here. And that's exactly what happened. So if we do have some kind of crash, it would be like this, and then it will just take off again. So it'll be short-lived. And so I've drawn the resistance line there, support line, and now we've just got to look at, draw the top line, the resistance. So as long as we stay in this kind of squeeze, then, I'm not really too concerned. And that's, I normally just keep track of the S&P 500. All right, this chart here, overnight reverse repost. This is on the floor again, so this is good. This is what we want to see. We don't want this chart spiking up, because if this chart starts to spike up, that means that all these big banks and institutions, they're taking money out of the markets and they're keeping it safe, basically. So, this is just another version of proof that we're looking at, where it's like, look, we've, this chart is still on the floor. That's good. Over here, when it spiked up, I was getting a little bit concerned towards the end of the year, because if this is trending up, then then it is game over for now. But again, it cycles. It would be game over for now, not forever. And so that's another chart I always keep an eye on. And then, the US dollar, we want to make sure that's continuing to trend low, and it is. That's good. It's dropped quite a bit. And that's probably one of the reasons why prices are kind of staying steady right now. The currency that they're being valued in has been dropping. And so, then it comes to crypto. Like Bitcoin, we're just in this range. So until we break out either way, we don't know. I do look at the total charts, and this is sitting on this support level as well, so that's good. I'm happy to see it. I haven't checked this chart in a few days. Let's delete some of these old lines. The good thing for me is we broke this resistance line, And that was a resistance line that was there for a while. And so that's a very positive sign. And then once we break one, you just got to draw another line and see if it will break the other one. I'm going to change the color to blue. I prefer blue. And so, yeah, it's the same. This looks exactly like the Bitcoin chart. We're in this kind of range. We need to break through. So it's got to, make a decision. And my money would be on price to go up, at least up to here. Just looking at it from a charting point of view. I'm just going to draw the same lines on all these charts because it's the same valid line. We've got this support line here. So all the charts are looking the same. And yeah, my bias is that I do want it to go up. So that's probably why I'm talking about it going up. And again, I'm just going to draw the same thing over here. Support line. And really it is a case of just waiting and seeing. But for me, it's not over yet. We still, structurally, this doesn't look too bad. Very similar to over here. I do want to talk about what happened in 2021, where a very similar thing happened. We had an all-time high. We had this resistance level that lasted a few months. We finally broke through, we retested. It looked like we were going off to the races, but then bang, got smashed back down. But this is a more gradual drop compared to what we've had now, more recently. And so, yeah, this is very much in play. And the only reason why I'm not convinced that this is going to happen is because the state of the economy. They've stopped quantitative tightening. They are starting quantitative easing. That means they're printing more money and pumping more money into the markets. And that's the only thing that's really keeping me going. And it's going to take a bit of time for that to filter through to the markets. But I keep talking about it. This chart here, it doesn't print in real time. But this is, I think the last print on this is, let's have a look, November. So yeah, for some reason it's a few months behind. And so yeah, it'll be interesting to see if this chart is going up or it's flatlining. But they have said they are going to start printing money. And when that happens, that's just going to be money that's going to come into the markets. And so that's what's going to keep me going. That is what's keeping me going. Because for me, the system lives and breathes on liquidity. Like if there's liquidity, that money goes into the markets. It's kind of like your own, you can think of it to your own household. The more money you have, the more things you can do, the more things you can invest in, the more things you can buy, the more things you can save. And if you're not making any more money, then really you just have to make more money or reallocate. Well, I want to look at some alts because it's a very similar situation to Bitcoin, and they did almost break out of this resistance trend line, but it just got smashed back down again. So it hasn't yet. This is Aave. ADA did break out that resistance level, but it's come back down again, and this is looking very similar to Bitcoin. So it's a very similar setup. Some of these charts I've just had on here for years. It's not that I've invested in them, it's just I've just had them now. So this is Dogecoin, another disappointment of the cycle. Dogecoin normally does do really, really well. So yeah, again, we're just up against this resistance level. Yeah, I had that one pump over here in 2024, but only a few small little pumps here and there. The dot is on the floor. It really needs to kind of do something. engine. This is a very strange one as well. Let's have a quick look at this one. This one has defied the odds. I don't know why. I said I would look into this coin, but this is, yeah, it's just done incredibly well. No idea why. But it's still really far away from its all-time highs of $152. If there's a safe coin, a safe altcoin, I would say it's this one, BNB, because really this is Binance coin. They're not going to let their coin die. It's always going to be there. I mean, yeah, we'll definitely have some kind of pullback. We've got a very strong support level here. But if you're going to be in an alt in this bear run, if we are in a bear run, then I would say this would be the one to be holding. This is, like, from a technical analysis point of view, this is actually a really good chart. Like, this is poised for a pump. But it really does depend on the rest of the market. Let's look at Ethereum. Oof, this is on the floor as well. I want to look at this chart. Yeah, see, this is not looking good, especially on a weekly. Right, let's have a look at this. So yeah, we broke through this resistance level, retested it, but then we've smashed back underneath it. So yeah, let's just redraw these levels. And so for me, yeah, there's definitely some kind of line here. It's not the best. Let me turn off the magnet. When I'm drawing these lines, I'm trying to connect as many points as possible. But, you know, good line. Like, for example, that wouldn't be a good trend line. It's just cutting through way too much. And so this one's chopping through this one a little bit, and it's connected to that one and that one. That's pretty good. And if you really wanted to argue it, you could. I mean, support and resistance is a range. So I would say it is at an interesting spot. It has broken that one, so it's the same as Bitcoin, really. So yeah, we're in this little rising channel, and rising channels are unfortunately bearish. But, you know, it could prove us wrong and just break out the other side. So really, we do need a bounce from here, in this area here. I mean, we could come as low as this point before breaking out. And so I'd imagine, yeah, the next week is going to be quite telling in terms of which direction this is likely to go. But it's just difficult to trust the pumps, because when you're looking at these, we have a pump and you think, yeah, it's game on, and then it goes the other way. And so, yeah, it's one of those situations where when it does pump, you don't want to take profit because it could potentially go higher. And then you realize, oh, this has been the story of the cycle. And it just keeps on doing that. Pumping, dumping, pumping, dumping. And so really the best strategy would have been to get out on the pumps, wait for it to retrace, get back in, another pump, just keep going like that. All right, now this is Tau. This has been super disappointing as well. I do like this project, but this is Sui. My mistake. It's the same thing. We're at this resistance point here. And yeah, we really want this level to hold. Let me just delete some of these. See, if you're watching and you've got any coins that you want me to look at, just let me know. You can just let me know in the chat. Yeah, Tau. Yeah, this has been super disappointing. But, you know, from an economics point of view, if you're just looking at a coin that's got real world value, Tau is incredible. You know, you can hop on, you have people that you can actually work with, they can solve problems for you from an AI perspective. It's a lot here. Really, really good. So, yeah, what we really want to see is we want to bounce from here. It could drop a little bit lower. Like, that would be a really cool move if we do have some kind of double bottom and then it shoots up. I don't know. Who knows how high this will go, if it does. Right, to finish this up, I want to have a look at a few privacy coins. They have been doing really well. And some people I know have been going on about privacy season. But is privacy season over? And we had a bit of a blow off top here. And yeah, this is good price action. This is a sustained, we did hit my target of 657. We went higher than that to 800 nearly. This has just been grinding out a high. It's not been like the others where it pumps and dumps and pumps and dumps. It's done really well. And so yeah, and I've been talking about, you can probably see me talking about Monero from 2022 and 2023. I've always liked that coin. I'm a big advocate for privacy. All right, let's look at an hourly chart. I don't normally look this granular, but let's see. But you know what I want to do? This is something that I never talk about. I'm going to talk about I'm going to look at the relative strength index, the RSI, over here. Because, you can find anything when you're trading. You can find patterns everywhere. But essentially what this means is when these charts over here are really high at the top, that means they're overheated. And so they're probably due some kind of pullback. And it doesn't always happen. But if you look over here, October 2025, the markets are very overheated, and that was our top. And then it came crashing back down. But when it's also at the bottom, then we normally do have a bit of a pump. And so, and again, this doesn't work like clockwork, because over here, we were right at the bottom, and we haven't really had a pump. So this doesn't work all the time, but sometimes it's interesting to just look at. And then you can go back and you can try and find other patterns. But yeah, like generally speaking, when it's on the floor, that's sometimes a good time to get in, because the chance of more upside is higher. And I would say this is on the floor, so that's a good thing. And even over here, this chart, they're both showing signs that, prices could go up from here. And that's what I think. So if you were to ask me, pointing a gun to my head, which way is the market going to go from here, I'd probably say up. Maybe that's me being biased. Maybe that's me forcing it. I don't know. But all I know is if you hold out long term and you play the long game, Bitcoin will recover. Altcoins, I can't really say the same. So if you're going to be in anything right now, it's probably safest to be in Bitcoin. Although the gains might not be as much, you might not get a 20 to 30%. I can't even talk. You might not get a 20 to 30% pump like you will in an alt, but it's that risk. How much do you want to gamble with? Right, I go live every Friday about 3 p.m. I'm open to changing that time because I know it's not that convenient for a lot of people, but I'm just trying to make it work with my timetable, because I normally, work with clients around about that time as well. So I'm open. So yeah, if you like this stuff, I'll make video updates every day. You don't have to jump on live. And yeah, subscribe, share with people who might find it useful too. And yeah, I'll see you in next week's live stream. And yeah, I do make these video updates every day, so feel free to subscribe. All right, people, I'm going to be out, and I'll speak to you soon. Thank you.